Grew up in a little town called Livingston. And very, Foster Farms chickens has made the little town famous. My mom and dad divorced when I was 8 years old. I was what you would call mama's boy. I love my mom. To this very day, she and I have become really good friends. But when my mom and dad divorced, I first started getting in trouble. I used to steal from my dad. I was a kid who was mad at the world. I was mad at white people. I was mad at blacks. I was mad at the dogs, the chickens, God. I was just angry. Life wasn't fair. How come my parents had to get a divorce? How come the other kid down the street's family didn't get a divorce? And I was just mad. And that anger expressed itself and just did a lot of vandalism, burglaries. I used to love to fight. Then along with fighting came weapons. So I started packing guns. Prior to all of that, as far as I was concerned, we had a very home life, My mom and dad, they seemed happy. I've got 5 siblings. So I had these examples around me all the time as I was growing up, what men and women, family, settings, the whole 9 yards. I kind of grew up with this really close-knit, I grew up with a real close-knit family. But the more I got involved in crime, the more it separated me from them.
I was born in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and I came out here 10 going on 11. I grew up out in Hollywood. So I went to Hollywood High. The streets of Hollywood was my education. I started using drugs when I was 15 years old. I was smoking pot like every other young kid, experimenting with drugs. I didn't get hooked on anything until I learned about cocaine, and I learned about cocaine very quickly. In fact, I was selling cocaine. I got busted for prostitution. I got busted for sales, and I got busted for the major, which is trafficking, possession, direct sales, you name it.
I was 12 and a half when I was arrested the first time. And it was just after when my mom died, I was 12. And my parents were divorced, and I lived with my mom. And when my mom died, my dad moved with us back. And that's when I started getting loaded. So my house actually kind of became a hangout for other kids. Before school, he would go to work, people would come over and we'd party, and then if we made it to school, we got lucky. Then I went nuts and just started ripping and robbing. I had done little stuff between that, but I really went off, and got busted.
I was born and raised in East Los Angeles. I lived in a housing project called the Maravilla Housing Project over on Mendick and Brooklyn. I was raised like most kids there. There wasn't a lot of money at home. Times were hard for us. It was in the early 50s. And I wanted things. I wanted nice shoes. I wanted good clothes, and my parents, they gave me what they could, It's not that they couldn't give me anything. It's just that I wanted a lot more. That was one of the biggest downfalls for me, is that I wanted to have money. I just didn't want to work for the money. I wanted to be able to have it today and not wait for it until tomorrow. And these guys that I was introduced to, it seems like they always had money, and they knew that I was the kind of kid that would do anything for money at that time. And they did, and they commenced to use me for different things. I did many things that today I'd probably still go to jail for, and that was during the times that I was 19 and 20 years old.